Awesome. All right, guys, welcome to this interview. It's with the one and only JJ Velador. He's my accountability partner in a lot of different things. An amazing family man, and he's just someone that I look up to. So JJ, I'm not gonna take it too much, but I just wanted you to introduce yourself a little bit, and we're gonna get started with some questions for you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Joel. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I guess just a brief introduction. I've been in real estate for about 8 years now. Um, Joel, you invited me on the show. You're doing, dads in real estate. So obviously that's something that's really important to me is being in my kid's life and always, having the time for them. Most of us got into this business for time and money. And I think a lot of people probably quickly forget about the time aspect of it, maybe chasing the money. So I think finding that balance, and I'll jump a little bit more into detail on what I mean by balance later as we go through some questions. But yeah, so two sons, 7 and 2 year old, married, happily married to my high school sweetheart, and just loving life, loving every aspect of it. Finished 75 hard for any of you 75 hard fanatics. Just last year and doing my second run at that. Real estate's doing is good. I do about 20 deals every year, and just living life and enjoying it throughout the whole process.
Man, I love it. And you said 75 hard. I tried it once. I did not succeed. How was that for you? I'm assuming it was hard, but
Well, yeah, 75 hard, pun intended, or I'll be, but it's just life changing. It really builds the mental fortitude and the discipline and the time management aspect. Before I got to this point in my life, when I first um, became a father, 7, 8, going on 8 years now, I was kind of a little bit of a mess, man. Like life was kind of like sporadic. I was reacting to everything. I can be here. I was trying to be in all places at one time, right? And I let my health go. I've always been, into sports and fitness and working out and things like that. But I had my first child and just stopped going to the gym, stopped running, was a lot less active, wasn't playing basketball with friends anymore. Quickly, just I went from like 175 pounds to I found myself 3 years later sitting at 230 pounds.
oh man.
And I'm short in stature. I'm only 5'5", 5'6", 5'7" on a great day, depending on how I'm feeling. But you can imagine that someone at 5'5", 230 pound frame um, is obese, right? And
Yeah.
I just said, man, like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you got to figure this thing out, man, because um, it just started weighing on me, man. Like, I was just, you're going on appointments, I'll just grab some fast food, oh, it's just late dinner. My wife, she's also was very new in her career. She's a family nurse practitioner. She got her doctorate as well. So we're just living that kind of transition from college life, graduating to getting early in our career, and we're trying to figure out life and then grow these babies too the correct way. Um, and so I said, man, something's got to change. And for me, at that point in life, it was like, I'm not doing it for vanity's sake. It was the why. You had to find that purpose, right? And for me, like I told you, sports was always big in my life. And um, I knew that when my son was 8, 9, 13, 20, I wanted to be out there on the basketball court, being able to run, shoot, handle the rock and just do fun things with my kids, play soccer, throw the football, baseball around. Like I wanted to do that, but I knew at the trajectory that I was going health wise
Yeah.
that it was a dangerous path, right? Like, I couldn't do any more burritos de carne asada. I couldn't, those tacos with the extra guac on them, like it was becoming too much. The hamburgers with bacon, like, hold on, man, put a pause to that. And I just flipped it like a light switch, man. For me,
Yeah.
I've always had the ability to draw the line in the sand when enough is enough, right? So I jumped on the 75 hard program. If anybody that doesn't know, two 45-minute workouts every single day. One is outdoor, one is indoor. A gallon of water every single day. You have to read 10 pages of nonfiction, right? It's a book that isn't like fairy tales.
Yeah.
Um,
No Cinderella.
yeah, no Cinderella. The Lion King. Hey, Lion King has some good messages in there. And then what am I missing? No cheat meals, no alcohol, and I might be missing something in there. But yeah, so you just have these tasks that you have to hit, and basically he calls it the power list. You have to
Yeah.
go through the day, and if you hit every single task on there. You basically get a win for the day, right? Down at the bottom. Today was a W or an L. It's like, did you hit your 10 pages? Did you work out 2 times? Did you do your cheat meals? And so on and so forth. So that just built structure again in my
Yeah.
life and standards. I was no longer reacting to business or family life. And I
Yeah.
was able to say no to things a lot more, how would I put it, strategically. Like
Yeah.
I'm someone who's guilty of being a people pleaser. Like I want to help everybody,
Same. Yeah.
so if you ask me for a favor, I'm typically the first one that's going to say yes, I can be there. And then I'm like, shoot, I got seven things in the calendar. So I quickly figured out through one of the books that I was reading too is like, hey man, when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else, right?
Mhm.
So what are you saying yes to right now that is inevitably going to make you say no to down the line? And with that kind of structure and building time management through that too, because if you're trying to squeeze in 2 45-minute workouts, you can no longer wake up at 6:30 or 7 and then get the kids brush their teeth, brush their hair, throw on their clothes, give them a banana and some apples and oranges, and then get them out to school, right? The whole
Yeah.
school routine. And you got your coffee over here trying not to spill the coffee. Like you have to be up at 4:30, 5 in the morning, whatever time you're kind of adjust to squeeze in that first 45-minute workout. And then, instead of going to McDonald's, Burger King on your lunch, hey, I got to meal prep and have my chicken and my greens and whatever ready for the day so that I
Yeah.
can do a working lunch or so that I can be making calls during that time where I'm able to just, get some protein in. So little things like that, that's what the program did for me. And then it helped obviously in business tremendously. And the way that I've seen the program is it's kind of like a tune up for the mind and the body. So I'm doing it again because I felt some of those habits slipping again.
Yeah.
Um, so I was like, hey man, it's time to go back into it. Let's get it. So
How
that's
many
the
days
program in a nutshell.
how many days in are you in so far?
Yesterday I completed 10, so today's
Good
the
stuff.
last day. Yeah.
Man, and I know you said something about waking up at 4:30. Man, I believe and this is just how I feel. I think you wake up earlier than that because I wake up at 4:30 sometimes and I'll try to like put a post of me working out, tag you in it, thinking I'm like one upping you. And I know you're on the West Coast. And like 30 minutes later, you're already like responding to it. So I'm like, shoot, when does this dude sleep, man?
Oh man, and I tell a couple of my buddies over here, I'm like, Joel has a freaking advantage on me because I'm trying to, I'm trying to get it early in the morning, and he's already gotten his workout coffee and dropping off the kids over at school. By the time I'm waking up for my workout, it's 4:30. I'm at the gym, and he's, already done all that stuff. I'm like, that's not cool. I can never beat him. I got to start getting up at 1 in the morning to keep up with you.
That's what it seems like, man. I think you're up at that time, man.
Yeah,
For
no, no.
sure.
3:50, the alarm clock goes off. 4 o'clock, the shoes are on. Brush the teeth. I'm headed out the door. I'm trying to make sure. And then my wife has her schedule as well, so you can imagine her schedule, my schedule, the kids' schedule, and that's what I mean. Like that 4 o'clock time it's like dad time. It's like me
Yeah.
time. It's like no one's up. Not checking emails. Unless I get a notification from you saying you're working out, I'm not responding to people at 4 in the morning. I'm just like, hey, get in, get your reading done, do a little bit of meditation slash prayer, and just kind of focus on what you're trying to do, and clear the headspace, because obviously how busy you are, and your family as well. You have the family structure, all that going, that it's just, if you don't have that 30, 45 an hour time frame for yourself in the morning, life can really bog you down.
No, exactly. I agree with that. That's the main reason I started getting up earlier, just because like I knew, at least in real estate, people reach out to you all the time. That's completely understandable. But I know that no one realistically, well, the majority of the people realistically are not expecting me to respond at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So if something comes through, I'm not answering it, just because that's me time. That's my time to get right. Spend my time in the Bible, whatever I'm gonna do, work out, things like that. And then that gets me right for the day, man.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, man, real quick,
Actually, I
how
appreciate you
okay.
sending me the sermons that you sit down, and that you're writing and you're studying. Honestly, talking about accountability, for me, that's what really progressed our, friendship, was that it's not only business and family that I'm trying, and fitness that I'm trying to get right. I'm trying to get right with God as well, and that's something that we grew up in. Knowing the Word of God, and growing up with faith. And I think that especially towards my college years, end of high school into college, and then into career. I mean, 10 years just went by, and I've always
Mhm.
had faith. And I always have my faith in God, and say a little prayer here and there, but I found myself only praying when I in time of need. It's like
Mhm.
when I needed something, and not really praying out of gratitude, or just as a daily ritual. And I truly believe that your accountability partners in this business can really be in different, in all different aspects. And that's one of the things that I appreciate about you. You've invited me to some calls with some of your people. You send me the word every day, and it's like it's a mental reminder every day. Hey, you got to put God first in everything you do, and I think you do that every single day, and you're in essence forcing me to do the same.
Man,
But
I
I
appreciate
appreciate it.
that, man. And that's why I want to be linked with, people like you, men of faith, like husbands, dads, just because, I'm not perfect, you're not perfect. Sometimes I might, I don't want to say stray, but, stray sometimes, or like go a little bit off the path. And, if I'm aligned with people like you who, obviously have my best interests at heart and are also walking the same path that I'm trying to walk, y'all can call me out, obviously in a kind way, but be like, hey, come on, just kind of like, you're holding me accountable for some other things I need to do business wise. And there's times where I don't want to work out, but then I see your post and I'm like, oh shoot, he's over there in the West Coast knocking it out. I need to go ahead and get my act together, man.
You're
So
like,
man,
JJ just ran 12 miles today. What am I doing with my life?
exactly, man. So I mean, I
I hear you,
love
man.
being linked up with people like you, on faith, on business, on fitness, everything.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's
yeah.
something that I actually, recently, over the last 2 years, I got that from Hank, right? One of your
Mm,
coaches, and mentors of ours. And he really drills down on the aspect of your relationships, right? And we've all known this, that you're the product of the five people that you hang around with most. So, um, him putting those standards in place is like, hey man, if you're a dad that is not actively engaged in your kids' life, and you're rather be out there drinking, and spend, instead of spending time. And I'm not making no judgments at all, I'm just giving a theoretical outlook
yeah.
so people can paint a picture. But if you're out there not being a good father, whatever a good father is in your world, right? if i'm if I'm in direct relationship with you all the time, influence is usually pulled down more than it's pulled up. So if you put a rotten orange next to a really well and healthy orange, that other orange is not going to automatically get, healthy again and be good to eat. Typically, if you have that rotten orange, it's going to rot the other orange much faster. So I don't know if that analogy helps anybody, but that's the way I look at some relationships sometimes. Is like, look, man, uh, if you're out there doing stuff you're probably not supposed to be doing, you're gonna end up influencing me to go in that direction. So I love you, but let's love each other from a distance type of things.
When you mentioned that, it made me think of something. I always think of it more in a positive way, but it could be the same thing. Like, there's a quote that I always hear and I keep in my mind, like proximity is power. And, to that point too, if I'm hanging around people, again, not saying they're bad, but people who have different, um, you know, it nicely, so hopefully it doesn't offend anybody, but different standards than I have, then more than likely I'm gonna start adopting those standards since I'm, closer in proximity to them. So I mean, I think that that makes sense, man, for sure.
And there's always like there's always balances to that, because it's not to say that you just, I mean, it's comes down to the decisions, right? Because I
Yeah.
have some friends that are like, hey, but they know who I am now, right? So um if they say, hey, let's go play some basketball, yeah, I'm all for it. Let's go hang out, let's play basketball, let's get some, some physical type of activity, adrenaline going, things of that nature. But if they're like, hey, we're about to hit up the bar to go get some drinks after, I'm like, all right, y'all have fun. I'm gonna go
Going
hang
back
out
to
with
the
my
family
family
now.
now.
Yeah.
This is where this is my off ramp.
Yeah.
So it is having those standards, and I don't, and I think you probably have the same mindset as me. It's like, I don't need to change you. If you want, you do you. That's what's the beauty of where we live, and what we can build our life around, and how in this time and place is like, you do you. And then if there's times where we can link up and have fun, then that's great. But I'm not going to go to the places where I know it's probably not the best, the best thing for the future of myself and my family.
No, exactly. And to that point, kind of like, we got a, what is it, a convention for our firm in Vegas coming up soon. It's like I had an extra room. I was gonna invite some of my other friends, but some of them in real estate are single. Other of them, like to drink. I don't drink just personally because when I used to drink, I drank to get drunk. Now I'm at a different place in my life, so that's why I don't drink anymore. So I was like, you know what? Who can I invite? Who's going to be a positive influence? Who is going to make sure I'm not around any of that? And it was like my dad. So I invited my dad. He's coming with me. It'll be a good father-son trip, and he doesn't drink. He's not going to be at the club. He's like 70, so it's going to be a good time,
Hey man,
man.
he might surprise you.
Right?
Where you at?
I'll be looking like, Dad, what the what? What are we doing, man? But yeah, it'll be a good time, man, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, definitely, man.
But shoot, man, what I guess how'd you get into real estate? I don't think I've ever asked you that, man.
Oh man, talking about drinking and real estate, I guess, is like actually a pretty good segue. So about I stopped drinking about 8.5 years now, that I haven't drank myself, and I used to co-manage a little pizzeria, local pizzeria shop. Like, I was there 24/7 out of
Yeah.
college. I made the dough at 3 in the morning.
Oh, nice.
This when my son was first born. I would go at 3 in the morning, make the dough, stretch out all the dough for the pizza as well. We didn't make everything from scratch there, and then obviously put everything in the fridge. Clock out about 5:30. Put in about 2.5 hours work there. Then I would jam back to the house. My wife would get ready for school. She was in the last years of her master program around that time. No, it was a little earlier. She was just finishing her bachelor's, about to go into her master's.
Yeah.
And so she still had a full schedule for school. And then I would come home, take care of baby Raiden. We'd hang out for a couple of hours. Then mom would come home about 2 or 3 o'clock. I would get ready for work, the night shift. I would go in, run the kitchen at night, and that was the life cycle, right? And then after I would clock out, I would we clock out. Uh, on the way home, I'd tell my wife, "Hey, stop by so I can get a 6 pack and a drink, and kind of nightcap." And then just that cycle kept going over and over again. Well, one day as I or I was sorry, I lost my train of thought. One day as I got home, opened up a few beers. I was hanging out, watching cable TV, whatever was on. Not sure, oh, it was House Flippers or something. Flip This House or something like that.
Yeah.
And what's that guy's name? Thad something, Thaddeus. I forget his last name, but he basically came on a commercial. Was like, "Do you want to flip houses with no money down? Do you?"
Heck yeah.
I'm like, yeah. Looking in my pockets, I don't have any money. I can get
You're
that.
talking to me.
You talking to me? Exactly. Um, and so that came on, and I was like, man, I think I could do that. And I picked up a book at the library. I still had my SOU library card. So I went and picked up
Yeah.
a book about investing, started reading a little bit about investing. Then I went on to an online platform called biggerpockets.com, which is, online investing blog per se. It's really grown over the years. And then I started talking to some friends and family. I was like, hey, I'm thinking about getting into real estate. I'm kind of at a dead end in my life. Like, backtracking 20 something years, my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Isaacson, rest her soul, she's passed away now, but she, kindergarten, first and second grade, she planted the seed. You're gonna go to college. You're gonna go to college. Like ever since I was a kindergartner, she was like, "You're going to college, son." And throughout the years, she would always ask me, third grade, fourth, fifth grade, "Hey JJ, what are you gonna do when you grow up?" "I'm gonna go to college." Like it was implanted. The seed was there,
Yeah.
and so I went. Fast forward again. I went to college, graduated, and it kind of like it kicked my ass because I didn't know what to do after. Like that was my whole life led up to that point was you're gonna go to college, and then I finished college. I was like, well, shoot, what do I
What's
do now?
next?
Yeah. So and then that job, and then I saw that real estate. I was like, I could make a career out of this. So I started telling friends and family. One of my brothers was like, hey, you should meet Clayson Whitney. He's a good friend of mine. We went to college way back in the day also, and he owns the local Coldwell Banker here. You should go talk to him. He knows a lot about real estate. So
Yeah.
called up Clayson. He's like, yeah, come on in, let's talk. Told him I want to get into investing, house flipping. He's like, well, we can absolutely show you how to do that, but I think you should get your real estate license first and learn the business from the inside out so that you know how to go out there and find your own deals.
Yeah.
And that was my introduction into real estate, man. He's like, you got to do this, take these courses, take these classes, sign up, get your license, e-license online, sign up with the state of Oregon, do your background check. It's going to cost about this much money. And it was going to cost about 1,500 bucks at the time. And I was like, shoot, I can't afford 1,500 bucks, man.
Understand that.
Yeah. He's like, well, there might be some things that we can do to help you out and expedite that process. So I was like, well, shoot, okay, sounds good. But I went home, thought about it, and I called him. I was like, hey, man, I'm gonna do this, but I'm gonna do it my way. I'm gonna figure out how to do it. I
Yeah.
don't need help with the funding of this thing. Like if I'm gonna go into this career, I gotta figure it out. And one thing led to another, figure it out, got the funds, got started, paid for my classes, paid for all the online stuff, and that's how I got started in real estate.
No, that's awesome. That's kind of similar to mine. Just like at least with the funding thing, and super financially well off at that time, and I kind of put myself in a back against the wall type situation, and I was like, I'm just gonna send it. Just we're gonna figure it out, man. So no, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Shoot.
So, and I think obviously there people all get into it in different kind of ways, but I think when you pay your own way in back against the wall type of scenarios, you
Mhm.
usually will succeed through the business. Like you know that hey, I didn't have the money to even get into this, so I'm going to find a will. to go and do some deals. I could put it on the
Exactly.
table because I have no other options, right? No option mentality, man. Um,
Yeah.
luckily for us, we were still freshly out of college, so we were still okay with eating top ramen and things of that nature. We weren't, at the point where it's like now we got to pull the arrow back to shoot forward. I know you got the arrow up there, one of the
Oh yeah.
Hankisms. We were still, the arrow still pulled back, we just pulled back
You're just
even
ready. It's
farther.
already there.
Yeah. So that's the story, man.
Man. And like I love it. And when I think about mine, like logically, it doesn't make sense. Because like I was a cop, I had like a certain salary, and my wife, she was working very, very part-time at the Y, so she's making maybe like $500 a month. We had 3 kids, a mortgage, all this other stuff. And I was just like, nope, it's gonna stop. We're just gonna go into real estate. We're gonna see what happens, man. Um, but
That sounds
it
that's like Eric Thomas, Eric Thomas, right? The motivational
yeah,
speaker.
ET.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he told his was it his wife or his mom? He's like he's working as a professor at the state of Michigan,
yeah.
and he told his wife, he's like, "Hey, so I'm leaving my job, and I'm gonna go do YouTube." And she's like, "Does YouTube have a 401k?" He's
That's
like,
like my wife.
"No."
Yeah.
He's like, "No." She's like, "All right, you got 2 years. In 2 years, if you don't figure it out, you better get your job back, man."
No, I'm telling you, that's pretty much how it was. Like my wife, she wasn't super thrilled about the idea, but like I just came to it with conviction, like I was gonna make it work. I'd prayed about it. I had faith it was gonna happen. And then in my mind, I was like, well, I'm not gonna let my family go without food. So I'm either gonna make it work, or if it doesn't, I'll find a job doing something. But I was like, I'm just gonna do it. And by the grace of God, it's still working out, man. So
Nice.
I
I love
can't
it,
complain, man.
man.
But yeah, no, we talked about family. And we also, I know I mentioned how real estate, you get calls all sorts of times of the day. How do you divide your family time and business? Like, how do you manage that?
That's a great question. So, prior to jumping on the recorded on the live, we were talking a little bit about balance in real estate, right? And finding that balance. Well, for me, balance kind of means a little bit different than what others probably see balance as.
Yeah.
I see balance, like, I think you have to be out of balance at certain seasons in your life. And for me, finding the balance sometimes is going to be one way or the other. I'm going to be all out of balance with family sometimes, but I talk to my wife about it. I'm like, hey, we're in season. I'm going to be a little bit out of balance. I'm going to be on my phone a little bit too much. I'm probably going to take phone calls at certain dinner times that I shouldn't be taking them. I know this, but I'm going to be out of balance for a bit of time. And then when we get out of season, then we're I'm going to be out of balance the other way. I'm
Yeah.
going to be out of balance with my family as well. And I think that's the important thing, like with vacations, things of that nature, you got to be out of balance and not be a slave to your phone and to your computer and just like at every beck and call. You can't just be, in every other direction. You got to be okay to put in some systems, leverage, and put things in place to where it's like, look, if you want to go on a vacation, well, do you have people that are answering calls for you? Did you ask team members around you, say, hey, I'm going to be out for a week? Can you show these clients properties? Can you take these people's phone calls? Can you go on these appointments for me? Can you handle these administrative tasks? But you have to also be in that structure of putting things in place so that you can be out of balance the other way also, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
um and that's the big thing for me is I never wanted, when I first got into the business, it wasn't that. And I didn't have the standard of being able to pre-qualify someone and be like, hey, oh, you want to go see a property, Joel? Shoot,
Come
let's
on,
go.
let's go.
Come on, dude, let's go, right? Like I didn't that with for me was just like I got a client, I got someone that wants to see houses, like I'm a newbie green thumb. I'll just do whatever. Now I have systems and processes in place where I'm like, okay, let's do a buyer consultation. Come on in on a time frame that works for you. I don't normally take appointments on Saturdays, but if that's the only time frame that works for you, I can do 1 o'clock or I can do a 7 o'clock. Like those are the two slots. And
Yeah.
and most professions they do that, man. Like if you go to the dentist or the doctors, you don't just tell them like, oh, you got to see me at 3:30, right? And they're going to see you at 3:30. Typically they say, oh, the doctor has this slot and this slot available, and then you kind of make your own, oh, what can I move around and do over here?
Yeah.
So same thing with real estate is like you have to have a schedule, and that's the number of, if you don't have a planner or a online calendar or calendar in front of you, then you fall into that victim role again of just doing whatever comes your way. And it's like, oh man, did I have an appointment at this time? Did I have an appointment at that time? Like you just forget what you got going on and you're scrambling, right? Um, so that for me is what really just time blocking has really changed the game.
Yeah.
And then again, having systems and processes and standards in place. Um, and really having a good consultation down, whether it be a listing consultation or a buyer consultation, because I don't want to just take a listing to take a listing these days. When I first got started, just to have a sign in the yard and a listing was amazing, right?
Yeah.
But if that listing is not going to sell, you're letting down two people, three people, right? You're letting down your family, you're letting down yourself, your reputation, your brand, and ultimately you're letting down your client. Because
Hmm.
if you take a way overpriced listing, especially now, the market just shifted, right? So if you take a way overpriced listing now in this market, it's probably going to sit on the market 30, 60, 90, 120 days. Your seller's going to ask you, hey, why is my house not selling? And you weren't strong enough in your consultation to say, I don't believe that price will move in this marketplace. And now you're taking away time from other business, you're taking away time from servicing other listings, you're taking away time from that family getting from their point A to their point B. And it's just a mess. That's part of having a standard. Same thing with the buyer consultation is, if you have a standard with the buyer consultation, is like, hey, this is what the market looks like, this is what you're telling me your needs and wants are. Go through the whole analysis through that process. Get you in front of a lender, get them pre-qualified, see what you can qualify for. These are what the monthly payment, have them have that conversation with their lender. These are what the monthly payments are going to be looking like. Now, if I see a house that you just want to go look at just because you want to look at it, well, how about you drive past that the night before, especially in this market? Now, last
Yes.
year, 2 years, you didn't really have that luxury of telling the client to go drive past it the night before, because that thing had 10, 15, 20 offers on it like the day it
Exactly.
went live, right? Now we're shifted into a little different market. You have different skills and ways that you can do things. But now you can tell the client, hey, why don't you drive past it this evening before we make a appointment with the seller,
Hmm.
right? Before the seller, because the seller goes through a lot of things too. They have to clean up the house, they got to put the dogs in the kennels, they have to get the curb appeal go, like sell a lot of sellers take pride in showing their house. They leave the lights on, they open up the blinds, they go out to dinner for 2 hours, to accommodate you to come see their house. So from what we went through in our listing consultation, I don't think, Joel, that it checks off one, two, and three on your boxes,
Hmm.
but I've been wrong before. So why don't you drive past it in the afternoon when you're on your home way from work? If you like the area, you like what it looks like outside, you're thinking like, hey, I really do want to go see this house, then we can go schedule an appointment and make it happen for you guys. That reduces so many showings. Like 9 out of 10
Yeah.
times they'll drive past and they'll be like, "Oh man, you were right. I'm glad I drove by it because it's not gonna work for us." You know.
Exactly.
So things of that process. I know I got a little bit off task or off subject on your question,
No,
but
you're good, man.
that's how I found balance, was being able to control my schedule and getting out of balance in one way or the other. When I'm in season, it's like having that family conversation. I might be going a little hard on this spot right here, but when we swing back the other way, we're gonna have that time on with the family as well. And then, man, this it's hard, as you can attest, being a father in real estate also, putting this dang phone down, man. Like,
Yeah.
putting the dang phone down and being like, nothing's gonna happen. You said it right. At four
Yeah.
o'clock, no one needs no one needs me at 4 o'clock. Well, if you drop on your voicemails, hey, I'll be away from my phone between the hours of 1 to 3:30. I'll be returning calls at 3:30. That's your voicemail, right? I'll be returning calls after between 3:30 and 5:30. Please text me if this is an absolute emergency. And if your son has a track meet from 1 to 3:30, you can let your phone go to voicemail without being stressed out,
Hmm.
because they're typically going to drop you a voicemail. Oh, Joel, this is about, we're going out of town. We just want to let you know, yada, yada, yada. That 3 minute voicemail, 30-second voicemail would have took up 20 minutes because we're talkative people, right? We're going to jibber
Exactly.
jabber. We're going to, so that 3 minute voicemail, you've condensed it, that 20-minute call into a 3 minute voicemail. And now you can reply, hey, thanks for text message at 3:30. Text
Hmm.
message, hey, thanks for letting me know. Hope you guys have a great vacation. We'll be showing your property while you're away. Let me know if you have any questions or if I need to do anything for you while you're out of town.
Man, I love that because pretty much everything you said, I'll hit on a couple of things. Like one thing that you really hit on, which I'm gonna start doing more of. Um, you didn't actually say the word, I don't think, but you were talking about setting expectations. Like you said, you talk to your wife and be like, hey, this is that busy season. You didn't just blindside your wife while she's talking to you and just like picking up your phone, hey, blah 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 when she's talking. You just let her know, like, hey, this is that season. But then, another season, I'm gonna lean even heavier on family side. Um, so that's something that I really need to pick up on. Standards, you talked about that, and that's something I've failed on once. I don't do it anymore, but it was taking an overpriced listing, knowing it was overpriced. And I'll never do that again. And then professionalism, treating yourself kind of like a doctor would, like, hey, got this time. What works best for you, instead of just, hey, I'm available whenever. Um, that was like a lot of good points, man. I'm not
Well,
gonna lie.
and the structure, clients like structure too, right? Because they
Yeah.
know that so just same as when you're on a listing appointment. So maybe 1 to 3:30, you're not at your son's track meet, but if you are, then you're watching the track meet. I know your son does cross country, that's why I'm using that example.
Yeah.
But now you're watching his event take place, and I guess cross country is a little bit different than maybe fast action sports like a goal. But imagine that real estate mom or dad that is taking a phone call and their son just scored a goal and it's the happiest moment of his life, and you were here trying to put a deal together.
Yeah.
And that wasn't my point of the structure though too, is like clients appreciate it because I tell my clients the same thing when I go on a listing appointment. Look, when I'm on appointments, or if I'm booked already, then I will leave a voicemail that I'm returning calls at this time. Just as I left a voicemail for this meeting, I want to give you my an undivided attention. So I'm not sitting
Mhm.
in front of you being antsy, thinking I got to return this client's call, this client's text, my wife's calling me, my kids are calling, like, you know. My kids don't call me yet; they're too young. I'm sure that when they get into high school or middle school, they'll be
Mine called me now, for sure.
but if you say that to the clients, then they really appreciate it because you're not checking your phone. You could put your phone in the bag and you're sitting at that listing appointment. You're looking them at their pearly white eyes and you full undivided attention. Just as I'm giving you that attention and respect, and I give it to the next guy or gal, that's why I have these systems in place. But if
Hmm.
it's an absolute emergency, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, then you call me twice or send me a voicemail. Typically, if someone calls me off the hook 2 or 3 times, it's an emergency. I will
Hmm.
ask wherever I'm at, hey, this sounds like it's an emergency. I need to take this call.
Yeah.
So it creates structure for your clients as well, and it's just setting that standard, that expectation, like you said, that expectation. Um, yeah, man. And then the overpriced listing, the same thing is like, you're not doing anybody any favors by taking an overpriced listing. Um, Now that comes with a little bit of a caveat, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can be wrong in your analysis. So it's like, how much overpriced are we talking? And then having the system in place also be like, look, we know in this market, if we don't get X amount of showings, then in the first week, then we really missed the price point. We need to truncate. I'm thinking this price. Or hey, if we're getting a few showings at a week but no offers, we may have just barely missed the price point. We'll adjust. I think this should be the price point if that's the case. And then ultimately, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, if you get an offer at that price, then I was wrong. You can celebrate it, and I'll buy you a big steak dinner. I've been wrong in the past. I'm not Mr. Perfect. So if that's the case, it's a win-win for everybody. You get your price, but I do want to set the expectation that I think that is too high. This is where I think we need to be. And we can adjust to these price points, but I'm not going to just put a sign in your yard, because I also know that I can use that to attract buyers to benefit my business. Because if I have an open house at your house every weekend, and buyers come in, I may not sell your house, but I know that I can sell those buyers a house,
Yeah.
right? And I'm ethical in my approach. I'm not going to do that to you. So these are the standards. If you don't feel that you want to go off of my recommendations, then I gladly would recommend the next agent that you're interviewing, or for you to interview another agent, so that you feel that you're getting that service that is, that is proportionate to what you're looking for. And I've seen it happen time and time again, man. It's like you say that to them, they interview the next agent overpriced it, it sits on the market for 90, 120 days, then they call you in 3, 4 months, hey JJ, you were right, this and but again, sometimes you're wrong, and
Yeah.
you list it and it sells, and it's like, okay, but what are your intentions, right? What are your intentions? And it should always be honesty and doing what's right by the customer. So
And then something too, and I won't hold you too much longer, but something you just said that hopefully, people didn't miss who are going to watch this is like that was very smooth. Like that was, if you're saying that at the listing presentation, you're already starting that price reduction conversation if that has to come up. And then by talking about, hey, you don't want to just, overlist their house just so it can sit and you make more deals off of it, you're kind of letting them know like, hey, you might interview someone else. They might overprice it. And this is the reason why, because they're going to benefit off of it and they don't have your best interest in mind like I do. Like that's a really smooth line, man.
well,
That's really good.
and there's one missing link there, that I'll give as a nugget as well to any of
Yeah.
your listeners, is also telling them, hey, if the next guy or gal is guaranteeing you that it's, if they believe so much in that price, make sure that you have such as my contracts are always easy exit clause agreements. You don't have to pay back the photography, you don't have to pay back the the marketing, the time spent. You don't have to pay back the time invested, because I believe in the information that I'm giving you here today. And if the next person believes so much in their price, and you ask them, are you going to make me do a price adjustment? They say no, because I think that it's going to sell for this price. Say, well, I'd like it in writing that the moment you ask me for a price adjustment, that I can exit my agreement at
Mm-hmm.
that point in time. So if you're wanting honesty from the get go, that's what you're getting here from me. I'm not trying to just quote unquote buy your listing at the highest price possible.
That makes sense.
And that, also is kind of that future pacing for them, is if they do end up with another agent that just jacks up the price, and they're like, no, no, it's going to sell all day for this. And then they hit them with the, oh man, I think we should drop the price. And they're able to get out of their contract. So,
Shoot, that's smooth, man. Well, shoot, man. Last question, and then I got some quick rapid fire questions, and then I'll let you go, man. But
all right.
what legacy are you looking to leave behind or live out?
Oh man, that's That's one of my questions on the shameless plug of the Project Legacy podcast. Oh man, that's good. It hasn't been flipped on me yet. So, uh, man, for me, number one, without getting choked up here, I want to be a good father. Like that's
Yeah.
number one, absolutely above all. My dad, God rest his soul, we haven't had him for a few years now, and even though he was a workaholic, best dad in the world, I think everybody should believe that their dad is the best dad in their world. But for me, my dad, best dad in the world, he showed me so much indirectly. Maybe not life lessons where he sat me down with his arm over my shoulder and said, "Hey, you need to do this, this, and that." But
Yeah.
just the way he did some things or didn't do some things, I learned from that. And we had a really, really rocky past growing up, where I didn't want anything to do with him, and I thought that he wasn't looking for me, but he was looking for me, type of scenario. My parents were obviously separated. Um, and then, dude, real estate wise, got into real estate about my seventh, eighth month in real estate. I finally made some money. I finally got some of those big commission checks.
Yeah.
And my dad always had this feeling that whenever we called him, his kids call him, we were always looking for something. We always needed money. We always needed something from him, right? Well, shoot, man. I called him. I got my biggest commission check. It was like $9,000. I called him. I was like, "Dad, what are you up to?" He's like, "Oh, I'm just doing this." "Have you gone down to Mexico? Have you gone down to see family? Are you wanting to go down there?" I was like leading him, right? I was,
Yeah.
"No, why? What's going on?" I was like, "Well, man, I'll buy you your plane ticket, or I'll pay
Damn.
for your gas or car or whatever. You need some money. You need anything? I'm making it, Dad. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Trying not to get choked up here." And he's like, "I'm good, man. I'm good, and thank you. But I'm okay. Like, I'm glad to hear from you and glad you're doing good." Well, shoot, man, I lost him like 2 weeks after that. So,
Oh.
yeah, and so I didn't know he expressed that to anybody until like a few months after that. I started hearing it from other people, from some uncles, some aunts, my sister. They were like, "Hey, Dad told us about that phone call that you had with him," and he was like super grateful, super joyous. And so, as far as legacy, man, like being a great father, and then passing down some of those lessons, that work ethic. Obviously, there's financial goals that I want to hit too. Becoming a millionaire, multi-millionaire, building legacy throughout the whole world, and helping people and other people impact their lives for the better, financially and spiritually, and in their just livelihoods with the relationships, wives, whatever. Like, if you're going through it, if you're out there, and you need to, if you're a husband, you're like, "Dude, I'm in that what you talked about in the beginning stages where you were at, where you're trying to figure it out. That's where I'm at. Reach out to me, man." Like, I can only speak from experience. You know, there, I always say I'm not a life coach, but there's a couple of things in life that I can coach you on. So,
Same, same.
um, and that's it, man. I just want my kids to know that I love them, and that their dad worked hard to provide an excellent life for them, and to give them everything, not only materialistically but
Yeah.
mentally, that I probably didn't have growing up.
Amen to that, man. Shoot, we got some similar legacy goals for sure. And we'll talk about that on another time. But real quick, and then like I said, I'll let you go. But quick rapid fire questions. First thing that comes to mind. But all right, first question. Buy and hold or fix and flip?
Fix and flip, but I wish I would have bought and hold.
All right.
Well, my mentor Jake Rockwell says everything is for sale, so
That is true. If we got the right price, it's for sale, man.
yeah.
Mortgage broker or traditional bank?
Mortgage broker.
Rather work on a team or solo agent?
Um, Day one, you should work on a team.
Dave Ramsey or Robert Kiyosaki?
Kiyosaki.
What's better, East Coast or West Coast?
Oh man, I stay on the West Coast, so
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Pay for a coach or find a mentor?
Um, if you're just getting started, find a mentor, but paid coaching is a must.
Rap or rock?
All rap.
Meat eater or vegetarian?
Throw me a steak, leave a little bit of red in it.
Movies or TV?
A book.
Oh, what type of book? What's your favorite?
Uh, by far,
That's a good one.
so far, The Dichotomy of Leadership by Jocko is probably my favorite book so far.
That's good. I read what was it? The one before that, and then Dichotomy of Leadership. Extreme Ownership. Yeah, yeah. Both of
Yeah.
those are good. Early riser or night owl?
Oh, early riser for sure.
And then last question for you: boxers or briefs?
Boxers.
Awesome.
Wait,
Well,
which
shoot.
were the briefs, man? Are briefs the tidy whities? Because I'm rocking with those.
That's what they are. Well, shoot, JJ, I appreciate you. Somebody's gonna get value out of this for sure. I definitely did. If I am a buyer or a seller, or even if I'm an agent and I want to get linked up with you, I know you can sell all over, but you're out of Oregon. How can I get in touch with you?
Probably Instagram or Facebook are the best avenues. You can find me on there, JJ Velador. And yeah, just shoot me a direct message on either one of those platforms and love to connect.
Awesome. Well, JJ, I appreciate your time, man. I appreciate you being my accountability brother, and we'll get up sooner than later, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Let's get to 100 agents that were impacting their lives worldwide. So, I know that that's a goal we both have within the year. That by 12 months, we're both going to have our modern teams built out to that. So I'm looking forward to it.
Exactly. It's gonna be good, man. Building a legacy.
All right, man. Take
All
care.
right. See you, brother. Thanks again.
All right.